For this recipe, I'm using the whole chicken, and then I need some onions, fresh tomato, this is tomato ketchup, mayonnaise, some lettuce, black pepper, salt, stock cubes, mustard, vinegar. I'm using olive oil. You can go ahead and use just the normal oil. We're just using it for the seasoning. And some potatoes and chili peppers. There's also garlic, and that's the foil we'll be wrapping it in. Then these are just the tools I'm using. I'm using the plate so I can put the chicken in the fridge to marinate, and that's just for the marinade. So the chicken's been cleaned, and I've gone ahead and butterflied it, but you can cut it in half or even quarter it. And we're just doing the seasoning now, so I'm using almost half a bulb of the garlic, and then I've just gone for these 2 chilies. I didn't opt for the Scotch bonnet pepper because it's fairly hot, and with this recipe you're not really looking to make it really spicy. So for the seasoning we're using the garlic, the chilies, the stock cubes, some mustard, black pepper, salt, the vinegar and oil. And I'm just going to go ahead and blend everything in here and then put it in the bowl so you can. So that's the garlic, the red pepper, the green pepper, the mustard, the stock cubes, some salt and some black pepper. And now I want to add the vinegar. And the olive oil. We want to add the oil because we're going to let it season for some hours, and you don't want that vinegar to just cook the chicken. And for the pepper, you could see that I de-seeded it, and I also took that vein out because that's really where the spice comes from, that hotness of it. And that, I actually want that because there's some flavor in there, so I'm just going to pop some vinegar there. Just a little bit, just to help scoop that out. And then now that you've mixed all that through, you just want to apply it to the chicken on both sides. You can go ahead and use your brush. I'm just using the spoon. So I've just begun applying the seasoning, and I remembered something. I have slit the chicken, just put some scores on there. It will really help to do that. It looks pretty nice as well when it's all done, but also it helps to infuse the seasoning. So go ahead and do that if you can. So now I want to do this side. So that's all done now, and you just want to cover and put it in the fridge. The longer you marinate it, of course, the tastier it will be. And I leave it this side up, because it's meatier on the other side, and there's some seasoning at the bottom, so it helps to go in more. I am really not going to go into turning it over during the hours. I'm going to leave it in the fridge. I just leave it like that, but you can do whichever way you feel best. So it's 5 hours later, and I have my chicken out of the fridge, and now I'm just going to place it in the pan to grill it. I've gone for the smaller pan just because I want it to be fitted so it keeps moist, just so the small amount of seasoning that we have there just stays in place. Had we used the bigger pan, it would just run around, and that could make it dry. Then I have the onion out, and I'm going to show you what I do with that. The potatoes also, I'll be prepping it in a little while. We'll be boiling that. That's why it's in the pot with the salt. And then I have the lettuce here. I'm going to be washing that and then just leave it in there just for it to, the water to. So now we start the grilling. And I'm starting it at a high heat. So it's at 10 minutes, and at this point, well, 11 minutes, I just want to turn it round. So what I was literally doing was trying to seal it. And we're going to turn it around and let the other side as well go for 10 minutes, and then we turn the heat down. So that goes back in. So it's at 22 minutes now, and I'm going to turn it over again to the other side, and then we actually begin to get it to where we want to. I'm going to turn the heat down now. I was on my highest heat level. I'm now going to go half. So I was at 4. I'm turning it down to Mark 2 now. Okay, so as I've explained, we were on the highest heat level, and that was just to seal it, and then we begin to cook it. Why you want to turn the heat down now is just so that the inside of the chicken gets to cook, and also you can see there's hardly enough seasoning going on there, so you don't want that to dry out. Now, the seasoning that you have would obviously just depend on the amount of vinegar that you had put in, or the oil. But I wouldn't tell you to put too much vinegar just so you have enough seasoning there, because too much vinegar will really sort of, make the chicken very vinegary, if that makes any sense. And here I have the lettuce, and I've gone for this curly leaf lettuce because in Gambia, they don't particularly use the iceberg lettuce. It's always this actual lettuce that they usually do have, or I guess the romaine and hearts lettuce, something like that. Then I have the onions. I've gone for rings, and I've soaked them in water, and I'm going to leave it like that until I dish out. And what I did was, when I cut it up, and I literally washed it twice. And what I mean by washing it, just giving it a splash of water and rinsing it out twice, you'll see that the water gets a bit lime-like color, and that just helps with taking off that raw edge of it. And the potatoes as well, I've cut them up. There you can see the thickness I've gone for. You can obviously boil this whole as they are and then cut them up later. This just, quickens up the cooking time. I'm also just going to leave them here soaking until I need to cook it, which I'll give it roughly about 20-30 minutes. For the lettuce, I'm going to go ahead and keep it in the fridge because I don't want it to wilt. It's going to take quite a while for the chicken to get done. The onions, you can also place in the fridge. I just don't do it because of the scent it gives to the fridge. And the potatoes, I'm just going to leave it out. No need for putting that in the fridge. If anything, just keep some water at hand, and that's just towards the end. You might need it. If it goes really dry, just pour it there and scrape the edges, like the seasoning, that it's getting a bit dry, but you're not looking to have any sort of a gravy or sauce for the end. This is supposed to be a dry grill. That's why you have the mayonnaise and the ketchup. Okay, so now I just want to set my potatoes. It's about 51 minutes, and we're just going to check the chicken as well. So you want to give this side a lot more time to cook because this is where the meat is, literally. And now we're just going to turn it over to give the other side to cook as well. And this is what happens when you let it cook slowly. It will brown more, but then the chicken will release its juices. You can see that I don't even think I had this amount of juice when I began, or after 20 minutes. But when you reduce the heat, this is what happens. It will, it will cook really nicely. And something that I was doing as well, which I didn't show, I'm sorry for that. I actually did it just the once. I had come and basted it. So I just came, and this was about 15 minutes ago, and I just did that. And I had only done it the once. I'm going to do it again now, and then I turn it over. And when I turn it over as well, I want to baste that side as well. So I've turned it over, and like I said, just before I put it back in, I'll be basting this side as well. Also, just before you baste it, what you want to do is you want to run around the juices all over the pan, because on the sides you would have seen that you had some starting to get slightly burned, and you want to scrape those bits off. So rather than the runny juice that you had there, it will become really thick, and that's what you want to use. That will give it a really good flavor. So now we just put this back in. And now I'll probably leave it for about 15 minutes. This side doesn't really need much cooking, I would say. I had forgotten to show you that I did put some salt in the potatoes. So everything is done. I'm just going to check the chicken now, and I'm switching this off. I'm actually going to drain the water out because it's cooked to the point that I wanted. Should I leave it in the water? It's just going to drain that. That's why it's just still hot. And the chicken. That's all done. So now I just want to arrange everything on the foil, and I have everything here. The chicken and the potatoes are on the cooker still. I'm just going to do the tomatoes and then lay the foil here. So I've used about 3 tomatoes, and that's just all what's left. And here's the dish. So I've separated them into 2 plates. That's just because one is going to be eaten with extra hot sauce, and of course the children wouldn't like that. And I've made this dish basically going on a recipe that is from a restaurant in Gambia. So it's just basically a memory that I have, really. And when you order it, this is what it comes with. Yeah, so that's why I've made it. And also in the foil, of course, it's wrapped in the foil. And this is what was gotten off the tray. There was a lot of oil there, but I've poured it down the drain. I'm not going to pour it over the chicken because I just don't want to overwhelm the plate with the sauce. But you could eat with it as you go. And the name mentioned for this recipe is definitely going to have to be for the YouTube channel name. I love Matt Forever. I really do appreciate every time that you come onto the channel to do whatever it is that you do. Honestly, it does mean a lot to me, and I really thank you. And I hope you continue to stick around. I hope that you also do make this, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Thank you everyone for watching, and take care.